Good evening. Good evening. I am Latasha Thomas, your worth coach and restoration strategist. It is my pleasure to bring you another moment of clarity on a Monday night at 8. Some of you may be wondering, what in the world is a moment of clarity? A moment of clarity is just an opportunity for us to engage with one another, to talk through things, and to learn something about ourselves, about one another, or to just get some clarity on things that we're going through. So tonight's topic are the key P's in purpose. So some of you may realize that we are still going through our 100 days of believing bigger, and we are going through the book that is written by Marshawn Evans Daniels. And some of you may not have the time to really engage in everyday devotional. Sometimes that can be a little daunting. It is a great devotional, so if you haven't picked it up, maybe it'll be something on your to-do list in the future. But I'm bringing you some of the topics. Each 10 days is broken down into a topic, and last week was about trust. So if you haven't been able to go back and look at that live, just take a look at that one. This week is all about purpose, and we're kind of in the middle of the purpose section. So we're going to talk a little bit about purpose. Now, I know that I've expressed some things about purpose in the past, but there's always something fresh and new that we can talk about. So I hope that you'll join me all the way in the chat so that we can have an honest conversation. So, so today is all about purpose, and we are going to talk about the 3 key P's. I know that's an interesting topic, but we're going to dissect that just a little bit today. So some of you may be searching for your purpose, and some of you may be in a season where you already know your purpose, or you've already pursued a bit of your purpose, but you're still having some moments when, hey Becky, when you are when you're kind of trying to, figure out, is this where I really should be? And you may be hitting some bumps in the road. You may be a little discouraged sometimes, or you may be a little tired. Whatever the case may be, I think you will be able to obtain some good information from this today. So for those of you who are searching for your purpose, the key is that you want to really align with God's will for your life, and you also want to align with things that you are already, first P, prepared to do. So what do I mean by that? Okay, well, so in finding your purpose, you want to make sure that you are looking at the common threads in your life. And sometimes we dismiss things, and sometimes we dismiss what our purpose is because we're so busy trying to run away from that purpose. We're so busy trying to say, oh no, that was just that little old thing I did. And in reality, it's something that you've already been born and prepared to do. So for example, I will say that when I was a young child, God was already preparing me for the season that I'm in right now. So what do I mean by that? I can remember very vividly every week or so, or every couple of days, I would line up my teddy bears on my bed. I had a little chalkboard that I would use, and I had different colored chalks. And I remember posturing myself as if I was a teacher, and I would write everything that I learned during the week. If I learned my favorite subject that week was math, I would teach my teddy bears math from top to bottom. I remember going through different math problems, and I was a very young child, but I had an affinity for teaching. And then as I went through other aspects of my life, I found myself teaching in different arenas, in arenas that I even thought that I wasn't qualified to teach in. So for example, I went on to PT school, and I'm skipping over a good portion of my life, but I went to PT school, and I would find myself dissecting the information that my professors gave me, understanding it, and then as my classmates had trouble, I would come alongside them and help teach them the information. I didn't think anything about it until later. So I go into grad school, finish that. I go to my residency program. And a part of my residency program was actually teaching PT students. And so I was given the opportunity to teach in academia, which was different, of course. It was a different arena, and I felt so disqualified to do that. But then I realized these are students. I am now a 4 years out of grad school, and I'm teaching people who are not quite where I am, but who want to aspire to be where I am. So was I a perfect professor? Was I someone who was well seasoned faculty? No, but I had the knowledge and I had the information, and I was already prepared to teach what I was teaching. And I saw the feedback that the students gave me. So my point is that even in this season where I feel led and called to assist women in their journeys, I'm still in a posture in which I am teaching information. It's just in a different arena. So as my life went along, I even used to teach with my ex-husband. I used to teach classes at church. So it's like, where is all this stuff coming from? It's because it's a common thread. So what I challenge you to do, if you haven't already identified what your purpose is to find, even in those difficult seasons, even in the moments when you were struggling or you weren't quite certain of where your future was headed, take every single bit of your life and kind of come up with, what was I doing in this season? What job did I have? What is the purpose, and what was the information that I got out of that season? What did I learn? If I was in sales and I'm now moving into motivational speaking, which I wasn't, but just as an example, if I used to sell credit or try to get people to buy credit cards and I was really good at that, maybe I'm good at marketing. Maybe I'm good at sales, and maybe that's going to help me as I pivot in my business to help sell products and services. So you can look at all of the aspects of your life. Nothing is just a waste of time. Nothing was just put there randomly. God orchestrates everything in our lives so that we can ultimately achieve the purpose that He's called us to achieve. So, in the devotional, she talks about this scripture, which is Ephesians 2:10, and I believe she uses the NIV version, which says, "For we are Christ's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which He prepared in advance for us to do." So don't feel like you have to put all your stuff together before you can step into your purpose. Don't feel like, oh my goodness, I didn't take this class, I didn't do this certification. You don't necessarily need all of those things. Those are great things. If it's necessary in your niche market, then go for it, do it. But it's not, you are already prepared for this season. You are already prepared. If you feel like this is your time to shine, don't negate those things. Don't negate those thoughts with all of these I need to's, because all you're doing is analysis paralysis. So let's, move forward. Start doing something. I can remember clearly, Tiffany's in the building. Hi, Tiffany. So she talked to me a couple of times. She was like, girl, it don't have to be perfect. Just do it. And so I learned that my imperfect steps are still steps, and God cannot bless something that we didn't already take a step towards. So go ahead and do a little something here and a little something there, and consistently work towards your purpose. And don't beat yourself up when you don't necessarily hit every single mark. You're not going to always hit the mark, but at least you're moving forward. You're trending in the right direction. So the first P in the key P's for purpose is you're already prepared. So just again, find the common thread in your experiences and don't negate the things that you feel are just so small. Everything is orchestrated piece by piece to get you to where you're headed. All right, so the next P is posture. Tiffany, the next P is posture. So, okay, what do you think of when you hear the word posture? Talk back to me. Like, what's the first thing that comes up in your mind when you think about purpose and you think about posture? What is it that comes to your mind? Somebody dropped something. It's probably a delay on this thing, so go on and hit it so I can see it. But so let's think about posture. What does posture remind us of? I usually think of, don't slouch, right? So in my profession, we're talking about making sure that you have good posture, that you're upright. Yes, Brittany. So getting into position. Yes, Becky, sitting upright. Making sure that you are prepared for whatever it is that's coming your way, right? Or so that you are prepared, that when you're in class, you like, that posture doesn't say that you're focused. That posture doesn't say that you're engaged, right? So confidence, something, you're getting in a posture, in a position so that you are ready. So when I say get into a good posture, you want to get into your battle ready stance, right? You are preparing yourself to engage in your purpose. And what I find really interesting that she wrote in the devotional, she said, now catch this, listen carefully, y'all. Purpose is not an intellectual exercise. It is a contact sport. We are supposed to engage with uncertainty, fear, and challenges. So what does that tell me? So a contact sport, I'm going to take basketball. Basketball is a sport that I played, and whenever, and there was some contact, especially with women, they love to pull my hair, they love to try to beat me up, but my favorite place when I played basketball was in the paint. I was not too aggressive. I was more so assertive in the paint. I enjoyed bodying up or moving around the big girls, getting into my stance, getting my knees bent. I was ready. I was in a stronger position. And I was ready to encounter whatever was coming. And when the ball went up, I was ready to box out those big girls. Some of them were like 6'3", y'all. I don't know. But I wasn't that big. I'm 5'6", and I was not very thick. But let me tell you something. When I got into my stance, I felt stronger. I had more confidence. I was ready to come and take whatever was coming. Yes, if those women were standing next to me right now, I'd be like, what in the world? I might be a little less confident. I might be have a little bit of self-doubt. How can I make a basket around this huge obstacle? But guess what? When you get into your posture, when you get ready and you get into position, you can conquer and move mountains. You can move that 6'3" thing in your life. And so you have to get into a battle ready stance, get in a posture, most importantly, of surrender. So what do I mean by that? When it comes to God, we are not necessarily, and it comes to our purpose, we're aligning with His will. So there's a lot of times when we think about all the things we could be doing, all the things that we might be good at, all the things that would look more glamorous to other people, but we have to surrender to what it is that He has called for us to do, for His plan in our life. I could think of numerous other things that I'd rather be doing. I mean, I could say, oh, you know what? I should be acting or doing something fun like that, but that's not what God called me to. And maybe those things will come around because I don't think that season of my life was for nothing. But right now, I'm surrendering to His plan, and however He threads that necklace together is how He does it. But for right now, I'm in a posture where I'm surrendered to what He wants. I'm surrendered to what He's asking of me, and I am in a posture. I am ready for whatever comes. That means that sometimes fear is going to try to overtake you. I can't tell you how many times I have had to affirm myself right before these live events. I've had to tell myself that I'm going to show up no matter how I feel. And what I have to share is not coming from my thought process, it's coming from what God downloaded to me. And how dare I doubt what He has given me to share. And so it may not come out perfectly, but I hope that it's touching somebody that is sitting on this live today. And then I also had to overcome and overcome perfectionism. Had to try to overcome that. That's difficult. It's difficult sometimes for us to still engage without things being perfect, right? And so we have to get through that and push through that, because guess what? What's imperfect to you can be just what that person needed on the other side. And so we have to continue to push forward. All right. So for those of you who are struggling with that identity piece, like, what is it? You're talking about purpose. You're saying that I'm prepared. That's the first P. You're saying that I have to get into this posture, which is the second P. But I don't really know where I'm going with this thing. So a good scripture for you is Ephesians 1:18, which says, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you. So the very thing that you're called to do, he will reveal that to you. And it's probably already there. And it's probably that thing that people keep calling you and nagging you about. It's probably already there. You just have to see it and view it. And so I pray that God reveals that to you. So the last P, so we have prepared, we have posture, and we have poise. So what's the first thing that you think of? How is poise different from posture? I guess that would be our question for this segment. Like, how is your poise different from posture? Drop it in the comments so I can see it, what you're thinking. And yes, Tiffany, perfectionism will keep you stuck. I am like the perfect candidate who thinks that, I really had to struggle with that over the course of this last year. Like, how do I get through my desire to have everything all put together before I launch anything? And I've had to really, really step out on faith in some of those areas. For fear of failure really is the reason why perfectionism was keeping me stuck. All right. So Becky says, how you carry yourself. Exactly. So poise is a little different from posture, right? When it comes to poise, we think about your composure. I usually think of someone who is kind of like graceful and elegant. I might even think of somebody who's like very sure of themselves. So yes, there's a little carryover, like you feel ready to do something, which is the same as maybe your posture. But it's more of a self-assurance, right? It's more of a confidence there. Poise is the flavor I add to anything, but gracefully. Okay, Tiffany. All right now. Okay, I'm feeling you, and you do know how to add some flavors, because I saw that Sakatumi cake. I almost pulled up to your house the other day. I'm just saying, it looked good. But yes, it's how you gracefully demonstrate confidence, right? And so God is looking for you to be available for whatever it is that he has called you to do. It's not about, how many accolades you can rack up or how many accomplishments you can rack up. It's whether or not you are ready, whether or not you are available, and whether or not you are confident in the very thing that he's called you to do. So he made promises to you, and he never forgot those promises. You may have thought he did because it didn't happen in the timing that you wanted. It didn't happen where you wanted or how you wanted it. You may feel that something that you did has derailed those promises to you. You may feel that you have disqualified yourself from those promises, but that's not necessarily true. It's not true. And sometimes we spend so much time engaging in self-doubt that we can psych ourselves out. And the promise could be right there in front of us, but we're psyching ourselves out. So I hope that you will be able to position yourself and come forward with poise, with graceful, elegant, self-assurance and confidence in the very thing that he's called you to do. So I hope that, you're remember those P's, right? So when it comes to your purpose, remember, you are already prepared. The second P is that you should get into a posture, a ready to take on posture, ready to take on fear, ready to take on self-doubt, ready to tackle perfectionism in the face and knock it out and just go forward and do the thing that you've been called to do. And the last one is to do it with poise. Do it with elegance and confidence and self-assurance that you are walking in the very purpose that you've been called to walk in. And I want to leave you with this one too. Romans 8:30 says, "And those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he also justified. Those he justified, he also glorified." So you will be given the power to do what he has called you to do. He predestined you to do it. You were created to do it. You're justified. You don't have to walk in self-doubt and fear, and you will be glorified. You will be able to advance his kingdom, his purpose, and you'll be glorified in his eyes. So for those of you who, just as an example, I have struggled over the last year and a half, 2 years, to truly, truly walk in my purpose every single day. It is not something that's just perfect and easy. I've dealt with self-doubt. I've dealt with fear and perfectionism. That's why I can come to you tonight and talk to you about it, because I've actually walked through it and I'm still in it at times. But it's a daily struggle. It's why you might have seen my consistency post. I am doing my best to tackle those things and to overcome them and to not be afraid. So for those, just as an example, my very first purpose walk was to jump out there and to put up this Worth More Than Rubies journal. I was afraid to do it. All of this stuff is on my website, by the way, victorybynicole.com, if you want to check it out. But I jumped out there and I put this journal out and I said, nobody's going to buy this journal. Nobody's going to want this journal. When I looked at it, I was so proud of it. And then immediately fear and self-doubt came in, because I'm like, well, it's not perfect. It doesn't have, perfect type of paper, and it's this and it's that. I don't have a million reviews of it. Who's going to want it? But I've received great feedback from this first journal that I stepped out there to do. And I do have some other things in the works. And then I said, you know what? I used a publisher for this. I did it based on a challenge that I'm so thankful my sister Tanita invited me to do, which is actually, thank you, Tiffany, which is actually the reason why I'm even on Facebook. Tanita Tennant, a member of our group, invited me to a journal challenge. And I was like, girl, I don't want to be on Facebook. I don't want to do any of that. She's like, that's the only way you can get in the challenge. So I did the challenge. Hey, sis, I did the challenge and this came out of it. Now, let me say this. This time last year, I joined the group, the Facebook group with Tanita. It was October, I do believe. And I joined the group and I went through the challenge and I took it seriously, but I really didn't think that anything was going to come of it. I was like, okay, I'll just kind of do it. But then God really led me. He challenged me in that group, even as I was doing the assignments, to be consistent and to work at it. So finished the challenge. I wrote my book, y'all. I wrote this whole thing for the most part in 2 hours. I felt led to submit the information to the female who was doing the publishing, Crystal Swain Bates, and I submitted it to her. And this journal came out of it. By December, the journal was done, and it was published a little bit later. But everything was completed during that challenge. So I'm thankful for my sister for that. So then time went on, and I believe it was March, because COVID-19 just started. I was having concerns with my job about keeping my family safe, right? And I was like, you know what? I need to continue on this purpose walk that I have because I don't know what's getting ready to happen. So, after doing this journal, several men were like, what about us? Right? Because, we can't have nothing to ourselves. I'm just saying. Can't have nothing. So, I'm like, all right. So, in March, I wrote this one. I wrote it in a couple hours it was February. I wrote it in a couple hours while I was at a conference for work. And I was like, you know what? People keep saying that I didn't include the men in this thing. So, I'm going to write it. So I wrote that one on the trip, right? So by April, everything was finished. I created this journal cover to cover by myself. Okay? Cover to cover, this whole design, everything you see here was done by me. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I had even more self-doubt and fear. Oh my goodness, I don't really know what I'm getting ready to get myself into. People are really not going to want this one. I don't know what in the world I'm doing. And I hit publish, and in May, this book was published. So now we're talking purpose, right? I feel like my purpose is to primarily impact women. But of course, after putting this one out, men were hating, so I put this one out. And I've received great reviews on both, actually. Personally, people have reached out to me like, oh, this was great, thank you. So my purpose in telling you this is that you never know what you're sitting on and how it can impact other people. You may dismiss your products. You may dismiss your services. You may think it's not good enough. You may think your words that you speak are not well enough. You may think that, what you're doing is purposeless, or no one's seeing it, but that's not true. Keep going, keep the faith, and keep walking in your purpose. Do I think this is the end of my journey? Absolutely not. Do I think that I have to be diligent and consistent in the small things? Absolutely. Do I feel that if only one person, only one of my sisters is on this live, that it was for nothing? Absolutely not. I feel like every time I come forward with that somebody is being impacted and that somebody is receiving something. And it's not because of me, but it's because of what God downloaded into me so that I could share with you. Last but not least, so if you are interested in the products and services, again, you can go over to victorybynicole.com and look for those things. I also have one-on-one coaching sessions that I do as well. And if you are interested, or you have a friend or a sister girl who really needs some help and some support after a divorce, that's my niche market. Recently, I was actually reached out and called because I was referred to someone to help coach them. And so I'm just like elated because every single season and every single moment has really been interesting, and it's an interesting journey. And I pray that you're on that journey, or that you are ready for the journey that's ahead for you. And I hope that you're willing to stay along for the ride. I hope that you're willing to share those amazing things that come up in your life. Post it in the chat. Say what you want to say to each other. Continue to encourage each other. And, thank you, Becky. Yes, Michelle, it's my season. I know that's right. You are poised and ready to go. That's right. And don't forget, some of you who are interested or who may need another jazzy little mask or whatever, we're coming back into this season where it's cold outside, flu season. I do still have some masks that say build with boldness. So maybe that could be an additional reminder for you to continue to build in this season. But I am so super proud of this group. Let me just say this. A lot of you are sitting and you're quiet. You don't say much. But I see you. I see you on your pages. I see when you're doing stuff that's great. I see you moving forward and building with boldness. I do want us to come back together and to share some of those things, because you never know who's watching and you never know who needs to hear it. So I want you to post it. Hey, I had a big win. I had something amazing happen. I want you to do that because I want people to see the positives, and I also want them to see that if you can do it, then they can also be encouraged in the same way. So I love you guys. I truly do. Thank you so much for coming in and for staying in. Thank you for every comment. Thank you for every heart that I saw. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you guys continue to uplift one another. And I also want to remind you that every Sunday we do the prayer call. And it's literally for about 15 to 20, maybe 30 minutes if it gets good. And love you too, Brittany. And 15 to 30 at the most. You don't have to look cute. You don't have to dress up. You don't have to get off your couch. You can chill and we can talk briefly about the week. We can talk briefly about the topic. And I do believe as we close out this devotional topic for purpose, by our next Sunday, we are going to be talking about identity. So I think that would be a really good chat on Sunday. So I hope that you guys have an amazing week and that you remain prepared, that you remind yourself that you're prepared, that you remain in a posture of surrender, and that you are poised, that you're confident and ready to take on the week. I love you guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.